Hey everyone, it's Miss Jess and Honora, and we're back with more of our Tales with Tales adventure in the 3 Tales of My Father's Dragon. We are currently in book number 3, chapter 4, where we left off. The baby dragon was hiding behind the rocks after he just learned his family was in danger. Are you ready to find out what he does? Let's get started. Chapter 4, In the Cave. As the men went about packing up knapsacks and putting out the fire, the dragon carefully crept up the mountain slope. It's a good thing they don't know that the cave does have another entrance, but I wonder if I can still squeeze through it. It was the tunnel through which he had gone when he ran away to sit on the cloud. At that time, only he and his 2 youngest sisters were small enough to fit into it. Maybe, just maybe, I can still get through, he thought. He hurried up the dry, rocky slope of the mountain, racing to get to the tunnel before the sun broke over the rim of the desert. I've got to rescue them, he thought frantically. Over the gap between 2 snow-capped peaks he galloped, and then down into the beautiful green alpine meadows in the center of the mountain circle. Here, streams babbled down the slopes to a bottomless lake. Masses of wildflowers, gentians, butterfly weed, painted cups, all colors paraded around the brooksides. In the pasture everywhere were giant snapdragon plants, looking more like bushes than flowers. But the dragon did not have time to stop and gaze at his beautiful home in the great high mountains of Blueland. Already the sun was reaching over the horizon, lighting up the sky. Here it is, he panted, and dove into a thick clump of snapdragons growing over the entrance to the small tunnel. He had seen the men across the lake guarding the cave with an enormous net. I wish I knew what they were planning to do next, he thought, but it's too late now. I'll have to wait until dark. He tried to pass into the tunnel, but the roots of the snapdragons had grown over the entrance, and dirt had washed in from above. Dig carefully. They might notice the stir in the bushes, he warned himself as he cleared the way. At last he could fit into the hole, and he started the long trip through the tunnel. I might get stuck any moment, he groaned, as the tunnel turned corners and gradually dug deeper into the side of the mountain, always only just big enough for him to squeeze through. On and on he crawled, and just when he thought he would surely get to the large part of the cave, he got stuck. He pushed and wiggled, but he could not get through. Tears rolled down his blue cheeks. I wanted so badly to see my family, he sniffled. But maybe they're near enough to hear me now. And he whispered, Mother, Father, are you there? Who's that? Asked a voice that sounded like his sister Eustatia's. It's Boris, cried his mother. Oh, Boris, Boris, we thought we'd never see you again. Come in the cave, we're in terrible danger. I know, said Boris the dragon, but I can't squeeze through the tunnel. Oh, I do wish I could. But listen, whatever you do, don't go near the main entrance to the cave. Many men are waiting there with an enormous net. I don't know yet what they plan to do with it, but I'll try to find out tonight if nothing happens before then. I think they're afraid to come in and get you. They don't know how harmless we really are. Anyway, keep calm and count on me. I have a friend who may be able to help, and if you don't hear from me soon, it'll be because I've gone off to get him. Now I have to go back out again. I must stay near the tunnel entrance so I can get out easily when I have a chance. Goodbye. And Boris backed out for what seemed like hours and hours until he came out among the roots of the snapdragon bushes. He peered through the leaves across the lake and counted 16 men standing in a row outside the cave. A breeze sprang up across the lake and carried their voices over the water to him. They'll come out when they get hungry enough, said one man. But how do you know they won't be fiercer when they're hungry and have been trapped for some time? Me, I'd rather go in after them right now. Go in after them, said a third man. Why, we don't even know anything about that cave. Suppose it does have more entrances. The dragons may have escaped already. And what about pitfalls and rock slides in there? We ought to know more about this. No, the thing to do is leave 10 men here on guard and send the other 6 to search for other entrances and to have a look at the rock formation around here. Good idea, said the man who had come down the mountain to the campfire. The wind changed, and the dragon could only hear confused sounds of talking, but the men seemed to be deciding who would stay and who would go. They'll find me for sure if I stay here, and I don't want to trap myself too, thought the dragon. Daylight or no, I'd better fly and get Elmer. He'll know what to do if we can get back in time. Quickly, he fitted the snapdragon roots over the tunnel hole, arranging them carefully so they wouldn't look newly dug up. Then, keeping close to the ground, he crept through the green meadows and up to the gap between the mountain peaks. He took one last look at the beautiful blue lake surrounded by the green meadows, felt quite sure he hadn't been seen, and then plunged down the rocky slope on the other side. Up in the air he flew, shielded from the eyes of the men by the circle of mountains. Chapter 5. Back to Nevergreen City. High over the desert flew the dragon, the hot wind stifling him, the hot sun parching his throat. He strained his eyes to see each object on the sands to make sure it wasn't a man. At last he was over Spiky Mountain Range. Panting for air and water, he circled down fast and plunged through the trees to a mountain brook. He had seen no one on the desert. I'll rest here until dusk, he thought, sticking his head right under the cool, gurgling water. Then he lay down in the brook on his stomach, carefully keeping his gold-colored wings out of the water. As he dried off on a sunny rock, he listened for noises of men and dreamed of how he and Elmer would rescue his family. Once he heard children's voices, but a woman called them together and they went off in the other direction. School picnic, he thought as he shook out his wings for the long, hard trip ahead. He wanted to reach Nevergreen City by morning without stopping. Up through the trees and over Seaweed City flew the dragon. He saw lights popping on suddenly along streets, in houses, but he didn't hear a little boy scream, "Mommy, come look, a dragon in the sky!" It didn't matter. The little boy's mother only said, "Chester, I told you to stay in bed." So Chester was the only one to see the dragon, and nobody believed him until later when the dragon affair had become famous. As I remember, Elmer said he lived right across the street from a park, thought the dragon as he hurried on. Yes, it was Evergreen Park, but what if I can't find him? The wind beat back his tears as he raced over Seaweed Bay, over Mr. Wagon Wheel's farm and the zigzagging brook. He thought he could see the road as the moon slipped in and out among the clouds. He flew to the coast of Popsicornia and followed it southward. Suddenly he felt flooded in light. What had happened? The moon? No. He looked down and saw a beam of light leaping up from a ship off the coast. He violently zigzagged up and down, to one side and then to the other, trying to get rid of the light. Men were shouting on the ship. Into the beam, out again, flooded in light, out of the beam again he flew. He knew that the ship's searchlight had found him accidentally, but as it tried to follow his flight, he thought wildly, "How well can they see me? What do they think I am?" And then, as suddenly as the light had found him, it lost him. He sped on in the comforting darkness, his heart pounding hard with fright. As dawn began to break into the sky, he saw Nevergreen City Harbor, the lighthouse, and in the center of the city, a large green shape. Evergreen Park, he thought with relief, and he quietly glided down among the trees. No one had been on the streets to see him. After all this time in our journey, we just learned that the baby dragon has a name. And now that Boris is back in Nevergreen City, How will he ever find Elmer Elevator? I don't want you to miss any of our story, so be sure to watch our next video. See you soon!